Hi, I'm Brett Bolsenthal with eXp Realty and SoldByBrett.com. Today we're going to look at one of the more common misunderstandings that I see throughout the real estate industry, especially as it relates to first-time home buyers. I see it all the times and hear it very often where the buyer simply says that I'm working with this realtor or that realtor, but just exactly who is your realtor? And is your realtor actually your realtor? And just exactly who is on your team? Well, let's take a closer look and see, shall we, what exactly the realtor roles are and how it relates to who's on whose team. Well, first of all, we have what's called the listing agent. Now, every agent has the ability to be the listing agent or the listing broker, if you will. This is typically the person that has the sign on the lawn, probably does most of the advertising out there that you see throughout for each individual property. Then we have B, the selling agent. Well, this particular person, typically you haven't signed an agreement with them. And if you haven't signed an agreement with them, they are actually the co-agent for that of the seller, or the listing agent, if you will. And so for you, you're actually the customer to the seller, to the listing agent. And then we have C. Now this is who's actually on your team. This is the buyer's agent. Typically, in this particular case, what you're going to have done to make it happen is you're going to sign a form like in the state of Wisconsin here. We operate under what's called a WB36 Buyer Agency Agreement. It gives us the ability for us to operate in exclusive authority as the buyer's agent to find a location of interest in the property that you're looking for and to negotiate in your best interest. So in other words, once you've signed this document, you are now the client of this particular agent, no longer the customer. So from a selling agent standpoint versus that of a buyer's agent standpoint, how do the two exactly compare and what kind of things can they do for you if you haven't signed an agreement? Well, we'll take a closer look at that, shall we? Well, first of all, both parties are able to arrange property showings. Both parties can assist with financing. Both parties can provide property data, fill out forms and agreements, and they can even monitor the closing process. You know, dotting the I's and crossing the T's, if you will. But that's really where the similarities stop. From there, there's a multiple different avenues of things that we can do as a buyer's agent if we're working with a buyer. And one of them is preparing a property value study. Is this property, especially in the seller's market, way overpriced, or is it priced properly? These are the different things we can answer by doing these things. Now, a buyer's agent can do a lot of things. One thing it's not always going to guarantee is that you're going to save a ton of money. Well, that would be awesome. The reality is, depending on the marketplace and depending on the situation, that's not always going to happen. However, we can represent you on all the MLS listed properties, for sale by owners, auction properties, and even foreclosure properties out there. We can promote and protect your interests at all times, and we can actually point out certain reasons maybe not to purchase a particular property. We can fill out all the forms and agreements weighted in your best interest as a home buyer, protecting your financial capabilities and thoughts, and holding those in confidence. And strategically plan the different ways that we're going to approach this particular property that you've identified as the home buyer. And finally, when it comes to the home inspections, well, there's another arsenal of tools available to us that we can actually use or strategize together to help you in the midst of those situations. Now, with a selling agent, you've heard the old saying before, you know, like CSI or something like that out there, where anything you can say will be used against you in the court of law. Well, with a selling agent, well, it can kind of be something like that. However, there are certain things that are held in confidence. The best way to assure that doesn't happen is to make sure that you know who's on your team. The buyer's agent is the person that's on your team. Now, just how do you pay for a buyer's agent? Well, that is an excellent question. Typically what happens in the buyer's agent's agreement, now each individual agent can operate differently, but in the agreement, it basically states that we're going to get paid for the proceeds of the sale, from the seller. So the commissions are typically built in as part of a sales or a listing contract, if you will, and part of an MLS agreement that we have with the other realtors that we're participating with or working with, if you will, out there in the field. So most of the time, we work for you for free. Pretty cool, right?